The personnel manager at Henderson Farm Supply looked at the application and shook his head before she even finished filling it out. "I'm sorry. We need someone with experience. You don't have any." She gathered her purse and walked out. That was the 7th rejection in 9 days. March 1984, Webster City, Iowa. Jobs were scarce. Single mothers with no experience were at the bottom of every hiring list. Her name was Sarah Mitchell, 35 years old. 2 kids, Tommy age 9 and Lisa age 6, divorced 3 years, ex-husband disappeared to California, sent no child support. Sarah was alone. She'd been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. No work experience except waitressing before marriage. In 1984, Iowa, that meant no one would hire her. The grocery store said no. The feed mill said no. The gas station said no. The bank said no. Every business in Webster City turned her away. No experience, sorry. Sarah had $42 left. Rent was due in 11 days, $350. She had no idea how she'd pay it. Her kids didn't know they might be evicted. She smiled at breakfast, while her stomach twisted with fear. On March 23rd, Sarah saw a handwritten sign at the post office. "Farm help needed. Apply at Jensen Farm, 6 miles east on Highway 20. Farm work. Sarah knew nothing about farming. Grew up in Des Moines. Never touched a tractor. Didn't know corn from soybeans until she moved to Webster City. But she was desperate. She drove her 1976 Chevette, burning oil, bad transmission, out to Jensen Farm. The farm was 500 acres, neat, well-maintained, white farmhouse, red barn, equipment shed. A man in his late 50s was working on a tractor in the shed. Sarah got out, smoothed her skirt, walked over. "Excuse me, I'm here about the job." The man looked up. Weathered face, grey hair, strong build despite his age. "You're here about farm help?" "Yes, sir." He looked her over. City clothes, clean hands, probably never worked outside a day in her life. "You know anything about farming?" Sarah's heart sank. Here it comes. Another rejection. "No, sir, I don't." "Ever driven a tractor?" "No, sir." "Ever worked cattle?" "No, sir." "Ever baled hay?" "No, sir." The farmer wiped grease off his hands with a rag. "Then why are you applying for farm work?" Sarah felt tears coming but fought them back. "Because I need a job. I've applied everywhere in Webster City. No one will hire me because I don't have experience. But I'm a hard worker. I'll learn. I'll do whatever you need. I have 2 kids to feed, and I'm 11 days from being evicted. I'll work harder than anyone you've ever hired if you just give me a chance." The farmer studied her face, saw the desperation, the determination, the fear barely held in check. Then he asked one question. "If I hire you and the work gets hard, and it will get hard, will you quit?" Sarah met his eyes. "No, sir. I won't quit. I can't quit. My kids depend on me." The farmer nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll hire you. $6 per hour, 40 hours a week, $240 a week. I'll teach you everything you need to know, but you work hard and you don't complain. Deal?" Sarah couldn't believe it. "Deal. Yes. Thank you. When do I start?" "Monday morning, 6 a.m. Wear boots and work clothes. The fancy skirt won't work here." Sarah drove home crying, relief, gratitude, fear. She had a job. Finally. That weekend she bought work boots at Goodwill for $8. Bought men's work jeans for $6. Couldn't afford women's. Bought 3 work shirts for $12. Spent $26 of her remaining $42 on work clothes. Monday morning, Sarah showed up at 5:55 a.m. The farmer, his name was Frank Jensen, was already working. "You're early. Good. Let me show you around." He spent 2 hours teaching her the basics, how to check equipment, how to fuel tractors, how to grease fittings, how to read gauges. Sarah took mental notes on everything. Her first task, clean the machine shed, sweep, organize tools, Simple work, but important. Sarah worked 8 hours that first day, came home exhausted, hands blistered from gripping broom and tools she wasn't used to, the back aching, but she'd done it. Day 2, Frank taught her to drive a tractor, old John Deere 3020, manual transmission. Sarah stalled it 6 times learning to clutch, but by end of day she could drive it. Day 3, Frank had her moving equipment around the yard, positioning wagons, learning to back up with trailers, spatial skills she'd never needed before. Day 4, she helped him service tractors, change oil, replace filters, check fluids. Her hands got covered in grease. She didn't care. Day 5, Frank took her to the field, showed her what corn looked like, what soybeans looked like, taught her about soil, about moisture, about timing. By end of week 1, Sarah was hooked. The work was hard, harder than anything she'd ever done. Her body ached every night, but she loved it, loved learning, loved working outside, loved that Frank treated her with respect. Frank was impressed. "You're picking this up faster than I expected. Most people quit after 3 days. You haven't complained once. I told you I wouldn't quit. People say that, few mean it, you mean it." Week 2, Frank taught her to run the disc, prepare fields for planting. Sarah drove that tractor 10 hours a day, got sunburned, got blisters, didn't complain. Week 3 was planting season. Frank showed her how the planter worked, how to fill it with seed, how to monitor seed depth, how to adjust spacing. Sarah absorbed it all. Frank's usual planting crew was 3 guys. With Sarah helping, they finished planting 500 acres in 12 days instead of the usual 16, Frank noticed. "You work as hard as 2 men, he told her. "Most people slow down after the first week. You speed up." Sarah smiled. "Rent's paid now. Food's on the table. My kids are happy. I'm not taking this job for granted." Month 2, Frank started teaching her equipment maintenance. How to adjust planters, how to sharpen mower blades, how to tension belts, mechanical skills. Sarah never imagined learning. She bought a notebook, wrote everything down, studied it at night after kids went to bed. Tommy asked what she was doing. "Learning to be a farmer," she told him. By summer, Sarah was running cultivators, controlling weeds between corn rows, precise work requiring attention and skill. Frank trusted her with his expensive equipment. Other farmers noticed. "Frank's got a woman running equipment. That's unusual." Frank's response: "She's better than most men I've hired, works harder, learns faster, doesn't complain. I don't care if she's a woman. I care that she's good." In August, harvest started. Frank taught Sarah to run the combine. Massive machine, complicated controls. Sarah studied the manual at night, practiced during the day. Within a week, she was running it competently. Frank had her combining 40 acres while he hauled grain to the elevator. They worked dawn to midnight during harvest. Sarah never complained, never asked to leave early, just worked. One night at 10:30 p.m., the combine broke down in the field. Bearing went out. Frank came out to look at it. "That's done for tonight. We'll fix it tomorrow." Sarah asked, "Can you teach me to fix it?" Frank looked at her. "You want to learn to repair a combine bearing at 10:30 at night? If I know how to fix it, I can save you money next time by doing it myself." Frank laughed, not mocking, impressed. "Okay, let's fix it." They worked until 1 a.m., replacing the bearing. Sarah held the flashlight, handed tools, learned every step, drove home at 1:30, back at 6 a.m. for another day. Harvest that year was 30 days. Sarah worked every single day. Frank paid her overtime. She made over $4,000 during harvest alone. By October, Sarah had been working for Frank for 7 months. She'd saved $3,000, caught up on all bills, bought winter coats for her kids, had food in the pantry. Life was stable for the first time in 3 years. Frank called her into his office. "Sarah, I need to talk to you about something." Sarah worried. Was he letting her go after harvest? Yes, sir. I'm getting old. 62 next month. I need help managing this operation. You've proven yourself over 7 months. I want to make you assistant farm manager, $8 per hour, plus quarterly bonuses based on farm profit. You'd help me plan crop rotations, manage equipment maintenance, coordinate seasonal labor. You interested? Sarah couldn't speak for a moment. Assistant manager. I've only been farming 7 months. And you've learned more in 7 months than most people learn in 7 years. You work harder than anyone I've ever hired. You're smart, you're reliable, you care about doing things right. That's what I need. So yes or no? Yes, absolutely yes, thank you. Frank smiled. Thank my wife. She's the one who told me to hire you. I almost didn't, thought you'd never make it. She said, Frank, that woman has something. Give her a chance. She was right. Sarah became assistant manager in November '84, took on more responsibility, learned financial management, learned crop marketing, learned strategic planning. In '85, Frank gave her more autonomy. Sarah managed the planting crew, coordinated equipment maintenance schedules, negotiated with suppliers for seed and chemicals. The farm had its best year in a decade. Frank credited Sarah. You brought organization and efficiency I didn't have before. Profits up 18%. In '86, Frank promoted Sarah to farm manager. $10 per hour plus 20% of net profit as annual bonus. Sarah was earning over $35,000 annually, more than she'd ever imagined. She bought a reliable used car, a 1982 Ford Taurus for $4,800 cash. No more dying Chevette. She moved into a better rental house, 3 bedrooms, nice neighborhood. Tommy and Lisa each got their own room. In '87, Frank turned 65, talked about retirement. Sarah, I need to think about succession planning. I don't have kids interested in farming. I'm thinking about my options. That fall, Frank proposed something unexpected. I want to sell you the farm, owner financing. You pay me over 20 years. When it's paid off, it's yours. Sarah was shocked. Frank, I don't have money for a down payment on a 500-acre farm. I know. That's why I'm offering owner financing. You put down $20,000, pay me $4,000 per month for 20 years. Total price, $980,000. Farm's worth probably $1.2 million, but I'd rather sell to you below market than to some stranger who'll change everything. I don't have $20,000. How much do you have saved? $14,000. I'll take 14. You get the rest to me when you can. We'll draw up papers. The farm becomes yours, Sarah. You earned it. Sarah started crying. Couldn't help it. 3 years ago she was begging for a job with $42 to her name. Now she was buying a farm. Why are you doing this, Frank? Because you proved yourself. Because you never quit. Because you're the best farmer I've ever known, despite starting from zero. This farm deserves an owner who'll take care of it. That's you. They signed papers in January '88. Sarah Mitchell became owner of Jensen Farm. Well, part owner, would be full owner in 20 years. Frank stayed on as consultant, helped Sarah transition. By spring '88, Sarah was running everything independently. She hired 2 full-time workers, paid them well, treated them with respect. Both stayed for years. By '90, Sarah had the farm running at peak efficiency, grossing $300,000 annually, netting about $80,000. After farm payment and expenses, she cleared $30,000 personally. Comfortable living. In '92, Sarah paid off the farm 8 years early, refinanced with the bank for lower interest rate, made aggressive payments, owned it free and clear in 2000. Her son Tommy joined the operation in '95 after agricultural college. Sarah taught him everything Frank had taught her. Tommy became farm manager while Sarah handled business operations. Her daughter Lisa became a veterinarian, didn't farm, but visited often and helped during busy seasons. In 2008, Sarah retired at 59. The farm was worth $2.4 million. She sold it to Tommy for $1.8 million, family discount. Tommy could afford it because Sarah structured owner financing just like Frank had for her. Sarah retired with $1.8 million from the farm sale, plus $400,000 in savings, $2.2 million total. Started with $42 24 years earlier. At her retirement party, Sarah told the story. In March 1984, I had $42 and no job. 7 places rejected me because I had no experience. Frank Jensen hired me anyway, not because I was qualified, because he asked me one question. Will you quit when it gets hard? I said no, and I kept that promise. She continued, Frank gave me a chance when no one else would. He saw something in me I didn't see in myself. He taught me farming, made me assistant manager after 7 months, made me manager after 2 years, sold me his farm after 4 years, changed my entire life because he asked one question and believed my answer. I've hired dozens of people over 24 years. I always ask them the same question Frank asked me. Will you quit when it gets hard? Some say yes honestly. I appreciate that. Some say no but don't mean it. A few say no and mean it. Those are the ones who succeed. Never judge people by their experience. Judge them by their determination. I had 0 experience in '84, but I had desperation and drive. That was enough. Frank saw it. I'm grateful every day that he did. Frank Jensen died in 2009 at 87. Sarah spoke at his funeral. Frank saved my life in 1984. I was 11 days from eviction. 7 people had rejected me. I was out of options. Frank asked me one question and hired me. That decision changed everything. I owe him everything I have, everything I became, everything my kids have, all because he asked one question and gave me a chance. That's who Frank Jensen was. A man who saw potential where others saw risk. The world needs more people like Frank. The church was packed, everyone crying, because everyone knew the story. The desperate single mother who became a successful farmer because one man asked one question and believed her answer. Sarah Mitchell proved that experience doesn't matter as much as determination, that desperate people often make the best workers, that giving someone a chance can change their entire life. No one would hire her because she had no experience. Frank Jensen asked one question, will you quit when it gets hard? She said no. He hired her. She never quit. 24 years later, she retired a millionaire. That's the power of one question, one chance, one person who looks beyond the resume to see the person. Frank Jensen asked. Sarah Mitchell answered. Both their lives were better because of that moment in March 1984 when desperation met opportunity and created something remarkable. The 7 rejections. Desperation growing. Before Frank Jensen hired her, Sarah faced 7 specific rejections that nearly broke her spirit. Each one hurt more than the last. Rejection 1, Henderson Farm Supply, March 15th. Sarah applied for clerk position, starting pay $5.25 per hour. The manager looked at her application. No recent work experience. We need someone who can start immediately without training. Sorry. Rejection 2, Webster City Feed Mill, March 16th, loading dock position, $5.50 per hour, heavy work, but Sarah was willing. This is men's work. You're not strong enough and you've never worked a warehouse. Can't use you. Rejection 3, Main Street Grocery, March 16th afternoon, cashier position, $5 per hour. Sarah had waitressing experience. Should qualify. You've been out of workforce for 10 years. Technology has changed. We need someone current. Sorry. Rejection 4, First National Bank, March 17th, teller position, $6 per hour. Sarah could count money and interact with customers. Banking requires certification and experience. You have neither. We can't consider you. Rejection 5, Sunset Gas Station, March 18th, attendant position, $4.75 per hour, minimum wage, pumping gas and running register. Boss wants someone with references. You don't have any recent employers. Can't help you. Rejection 6. Franklin Elementary School. March 20th. Cafeteria worker, $5.15 per hour. Sarah could cook and serve food. Position requires food service certification. You'd need to get certified first. Takes 6 weeks and costs $200. Can you do that? Sarah couldn't afford $200 or wait 6 weeks. Rejection 7. Henderson Farm Supply again. March 22nd. Different position. Inventory clerk, $5.35 per hour. Desperate, Sarah applied again. Same manager. Didn't we already talk? Answers still no. You need experience. 7 rejections, 7 variations of "you're not qualified." Each one driving home the same message. Nobody wants someone with no experience. Didn't matter that Sarah was intelligent. Didn't matter that she was desperate. Didn't matter that she'd work harder than anyone. No experience meant no chance. After the 7th rejection, Sarah sat in her car crying. $42 left. Rent due in 9 days. Kids asking why there was no milk in the refrigerator. No options left. Then she saw Frank's handwritten sign at the post office. One last chance. The first week, learning everything from zero. Sarah's first week was harder than she'd imagined. Not just physically, though her body ached constantly, but mentally, learning an entirely new world. Monday, day 1. Frank showed her the machine shed. This is where we maintain equipment. Everything has its place. Tools go here, parts go here, fluids go here. When you're done with something, put it back where it belongs. Organization saves time. Sarah looked at hundreds of tools she didn't recognize. Wrenches in sizes she couldn't name. Implements she'd never seen. But she listened carefully. Asked questions. What's this for? When do you use that? How often does this need maintenance? Frank appreciated the questions. Most new hires pretended to understand. Sarah admitted what she didn't know. Tuesday, day 2. Tractor driving. Frank put her in an old John Deere 3020. Clutch in, shift to first, give it throttle, let clutch out slowly. Sarah stalled it. Frank didn't criticize. Again, you'll get it. She stalled 5 more times. Other workers watched, smirked. City girl doesn't know how to drive. Sarah's face burned with embarrassment, but she kept trying. 7th attempt, she got it rolling. Jerky, rough, but moving. By end of day Tuesday, she could drive it around the yard without stalling. Her left leg ached from working the clutch. Didn't complain. Wednesday, day 3, moving equipment. Frank had her position grain wagons. Back them up to specific spots. Harder than it looks. Wagons don't turn like cars. You steer opposite. Push when you think you should pull. Sarah jackknifed a wagon twice, nearly hit the barn once. Frank stayed patient. You're learning. Everyone struggles with backing trailers at first. Thursday, day 4. Equipment maintenance. Frank showed her how to grease zerks, pump grease gun into fitting points. Each tractor had 70 to 90 grease points. All needed servicing. Sarah's hands cramped from squeezing the grease gun. Blisters formed on her palms. She wrapped them in band-aids and kept going. Friday, day 5, field work. Frank took her out to see the land, walked through last year's corn stubble, showed her soil differences. This is sandy soil, drains fast. That's clay soil, holds moisture. You adjust planting depth and fertilizer based on soil type. Sarah absorbed everything, asked Frank to repeat information, wanted to understand completely. That evening, Frank's wife Mary asked him, "How's the new hire working out?" "She's remarkable. Works harder than any man I've hired, doesn't complain, asks intelligent questions. If she stays, she'll be the best employee I've ever had." "You had doubts when you hired her." "I did. Thought she'd quit after 2 days. But she's determined. You were right to tell me to hire her." The community reaction, whispers and judgment. Webster City was a small town, 3,500 people. Everyone knew everyone's business. Sarah Mitchell working on Frank Jensen's farm became immediate gossip. At the diner, farmers talked. "Did you hear Frank hired that Mitchell woman? The divorced one with no job?" "I heard. She doesn't know farming from nothing. Frank's crazy hiring her." "Give it a week. She'll quit. Farm work's too hard for a city woman. At the feed mill, men placed bets. I give her 3 days. I'll take that bet. She won't last past Friday." Sarah heard the whispers, saw the looks. Men at the gas station staring. Women at the grocery store judging. Everyone waiting for her to fail. Her kids heard it too. Tommy came home from school crying one day in April. "Kids are saying you're going to get fired because you don't know anything about farming?" Sarah hugged him. "People don't think I can do it. They're wrong. I'm going to prove them wrong. You'll see." Lisa asked, "Are you really a farmer now, Mommy?" "I'm learning to be one, sweetie. It's hard, but I like it." By May, opinions started shifting. Sarah was still working, still showing up every day, still learning. Frank told people, "She's good, really good, works harder than anyone." By June, the betting pool at the feed mill was settled. Nobody won. Everyone predicted she'd quit. She didn't. By August, during harvest, men who doubted her saw her running Frank's combine, competently, efficiently, working 14-hour days without complaint. One farmer told Frank, "I was wrong about her. She's tougher than most men I know." Frank agreed. "Toughest worker I've ever had, and I've hired over 50 people in 40 years." The turning point. When she almost quit, there was one day Sarah nearly quit. June 12, 1984, 3 months into the job. Morning started bad. Tommy woke up sick, fever of 102. Sarah had no sick days yet, couldn't afford to miss work. Called her neighbor, Mrs. Anderson. "Can you watch Tommy today? He's sick, but I can't miss work." Mrs. Anderson agreed. Sarah felt guilty leaving her sick son. At work, everything went wrong. The cultivator broke down in the field. Hydraulic line burst, sprayed fluid everywhere. Sarah tried to fix it, couldn't, had to get Frank. Frank came out, fixed it in 15 minutes. "You'll learn. Hydraulics are tricky." Then Sarah backed a grain wagon into a fence post, bent the wagon hitch, damaged the post. Frank had to repair both. Lunchtime. Sarah's car wouldn't start, dead battery, had to get a jump from Frank. Afternoon, Sarah was running the disc, broke a blade on a rock she didn't see, required an hour of repair time. By 4 p.m., Sarah had caused 3 equipment issues, damaged property, and needed a car jump. She felt worthless, incompetent. Like everyone who'd said she couldn't do this was right. Frank called her into the office at 5. "Sarah, sit down." Sarah fought tears. "This is it. He's firing me. I failed. I'm sorry about today. I'll pay for the damages." Frank looked confused. "Pay for what?" "The wagon hitch, the fence post, the disc blade. It's my fault." Frank waved his hand. "That's normal. Equipment breaks. We fix it. That's farming. Why would you pay for that?" "Because I messed up. Multiple times today." Frank leaned back in his chair. "Sarah, let me tell you about my first year farming, 1946. I was 24. First week I rolled a tractor, completely flipped it, damaged the tractor, destroyed a section of fence, and broke my arm. Second week I planted an entire field at wrong depth, had to replant all 40 acres. Third week I backed a wagon through the barn door, knocked the whole door off its frame." Sarah listened. Frank continued. "Farming is mistakes, constant mistakes. Learning from them is what makes you good. You broke things today. So what? You learned from each one. Tomorrow you'll be better. That's all I ask. You're not firing me? Why would I fire my best worker? You've made fewer mistakes in 3 months than most people make in a year, and you work twice as hard as anyone I've had. You think one bad day changes that?" Sarah cried with relief. "I thought I was failing. You're succeeding. Trust me." Sarah went home that night and hugged Tommy extra long. He was still sick but better. Mommy had a bad day, but it got better. Tommy asked, because of Mr. Jensen. Yes, because he believes in me even when I doubt myself. That was the last time Sarah thought about quitting. Frank's confidence carried her through every hard day after that. The ripple effect. Sarah pays it forward. Once Sarah became farm manager in '86, she started hiring people. Used the same philosophy Frank used on her. In '87, a young man named David applied for work, age 22, fresh out of high school, no college, no experience. Most farmers wouldn't hire him. Sarah interviewed him. Why do you want to farm? I don't know anything else, Mom. Grew up in town, no farm background, but I like working outside. I'm willing to learn. Sarah asked Frank's question. If I hire you and the work gets hard, and it will you quit? David thought carefully. I can't promise I'll be good at it, but I promise I won't quit unless you fire me. Hired, $6.50 an hour, start Monday. David became one of Sarah's best workers, stayed 12 years, eventually became equipment manager. In '89, a woman named Carol applied, age 47, recent widow. Husband died in farm accident. Carol had no work experience, just needed income. Sarah interviewed her. Have you ever worked outside your home? No, I raised 4 kids. Now they're grown. My husband's gone. I need to work. Nobody will hire a 47-year-old woman with no experience. Sarah smiled. I was 35 with no experience when Frank hired me. If work gets hard, will you quit? No, Mom. I need this job. I'll work until I drop. Hired, $6.50 per hour, start Wednesday. Carol worked for Sarah for 11 years, became the farm's bookkeeper, managed all financial records. In '92, a young woman named Jessica applied. Age 19, single mother, baby age 6 months, desperate for work, no experience. Sarah saw herself in Jessica, asked the question, will you quit when it gets hard? Jessica started crying. I can't quit. My baby needs me. I'll do anything. Please give me a chance. Hired, $7 per hour. Bring your baby to work if you need to. We'll figure it out. Jessica worked for Sarah until 2003. 11 years. Brought her daughter to work for the first 2 years. The baby slept in Sarah's office while Jessica worked fields. Farm family took care of each other. Over 20 years, Sarah hired 38 people. 19 had no farming experience when hired. Sarah gave them all the same chance Frank gave her. Asked the same question. Hired based on determination, not experience. Of those 38 hires, 32 stayed longer than 2 years. 24 stayed longer than 5 years. 11 worked for Sarah until retirement or career change. Sarah's hiring success rate was 84% retention beyond 2 years. Industry average was 38%. Her philosophy worked. The financial transformation from $42 to millions. Sarah's financial journey from March '84 to 2008 was remarkable. Numbers tell the story. March 1984. Total assets $42, total debts 2 months behind on rent, $700. April 1984. After 1 month working. Income $960. 40 hours times 4 weeks times $6. Expenses, rent $350, food $200, utilities $80, gas $60, clothes $26, saved $244. She caught up on back rent, built small emergency fund, life stabilized. December 1984, after 9 months. Total earned, approximately $10,000, including harvest overtime, saved. $3,000, debt, 0. Sarah's life was transformed in 9 months, from broke to stable through hard work. December 1986, as farm manager. Annual income, $35,000 salary plus bonus. Saved, $12,000. Total savings now $17,000. January 1988, buying farm. Down payment, $14,000 on $980,000 farm monthly payment, $4,000 annual income, $80,000 gross farm profit after expenses. After farm payment, $32,000 remaining living expenses, $18,000 saved. Annually $14,000 December 1992, paying off farm early. Paid off 8 years early through aggressive payments. Farm value, 1.3 million equity, 1.3 million savings, 65,000. December 2000, farm paid off completely. Farm value, 1.9 million equity, 1.9 million savings, 240,000. December 2008, retirement. Farm sold for 1.8 million savings accumulated, 400,000 total net worth, 2.2 million. From $42 in March 84 to 2.2 million in December 2008. 24 years, starting from absolute zero. Through hard work, determination, and refusing to quit. The legacy, Frank's question lives on. When Frank Jensen died in 2009, his funeral drew over 400 people. Sarah spoke. So did 12 other people Frank had hired over 40 years. Each told similar stories. Frank hired me when nobody else would. Frank gave me a chance despite no experience. Frank asked if I'd quit when things got hard. I said no. He believed me. Frank's legacy wasn't just the farm. It was the dozens of lives he changed by asking one question and believing the answer. After Frank's funeral, Sarah started a program. The Jensen Second Chance Fund provided small grants to people trying to enter farming without traditional backgrounds. Requirements: no farming experience necessary, must demonstrate determination, must answer Frank's question honestly. If work gets hard, will you quit? The fund helped 43 people enter farming between 2009 and 2020. 28 were still farming successfully as of 2020. 65% success rate for complete beginners. Sarah funded it with $200,000 from her retirement savings. Frank changed my life by giving me a chance. I'm passing that forward. This is Frank's real legacy. At fund events, Sarah told her story. The $42, the 7 rejections, Frank's question, 24 years of farming, $2.2 million retirement. Young people listened with tears. If you could do it, maybe I can too. Sarah's response: I had no advantages, no experience, no connections, no money. What I had was desperation and determination. That was enough. Frank saw it. If you have it, someone will see it in you too. Don't give up after 7 rejections. The 8th one might be your Frank Jensen. The final lesson. One question changes everything. Sarah Mitchell's story proves several truths. Experience isn't everything. Determination matters more. Desperate people often make the best workers. One person giving you a chance can change your entire life. Never quit when things get hard. Pay forward the chances you're given. But the biggest lesson is the power of asking the right question. Frank Jensen didn't ask, "What's your experience?" He knew she had none. He didn't ask, "What are your qualifications?" She had none. He didn't ask, "Why should I hire you?" She had no good answer. He asked one question: "If I hire you and work gets hard, will you quit?" That question cut through everything else. Experience, qualifications, background. Got straight to what mattered. Would she persist when challenged? Sarah answered honestly, "No, I won't quit." And she kept that promise for 24 years. That's why Frank's question was brilliant. It identified the one characteristic that predicts success better than any resume: determination to persist through difficulty. Sarah hired 38 people using that same question. 84% stayed. Because the question identified the right people. Today, hiring managers focus on experience and credentials. Frank focused on character and determination. Frank's way worked better. No one would hire Sarah because she had no experience. Frank Jensen asked one question, got the right answer, and changed 2 lives, his and hers, forever. The farm thrived because Frank asked the right question. Sarah succeeded because she gave the right answer and kept her word. That's the power of one question, asked by the right person, answered honestly by someone desperate for a chance, creating an outcome neither could have predicted, but both deserved. Frank Jensen asked, Sarah Mitchell answered. 24 years later, both won. May we all be wise enough to ask Frank's question, honest enough to answer like Sarah, and generous enough to give chances to people who just need someone to believe in them. That's the legacy. That's the lesson. That's what happens when one question changes everything.